Hello, word nerds. Welcome to my podcast called The Dictionary. I hope that there are new people who are new to this. What am I trying to say? I hope I got new listeners. That's what I'm trying to say. And if this is your first episode, or if you've only heard a few, please go back to the beginning of the A's and start from the beginning because it's much more fun that way. Okay. Let's see. This has only been about a minute or two since I recorded the last episode, so we're just going to get right into it. Oh, damn, I don't have my pen. I wanted to make marks of where I'm finishing episodes, but that's okay. I think I see it. I think I see my spot. Okay, first word is backswing. It is all one word, B-A-C-K-S-W-I-N-G. That reminds me of a backwards phrase I learned how to say for a video, which I think I talked about a while ago. News utkelga, which means I like to swing. I like to swing. All right, this is a noun from 1892. The movement of a club, racket, bat, or arm backward to a position from which the forward or downward swing is made. And I think that is similar to what we had backhand a few episodes back. All right, now we have backsword. All one word, it is a noun from 1597, a single-edged sword, or as I like to say, sword. Now we have backtalk. It is two words. It is a noun from 1858, impudent, insolent. Did I say impudent right? Is it impudent or impudent? I don't know. I think impudent is correct. Anyway, impudent, insolent, or argumentative replies. I don't like backtalk. That's all I'm going to say. Now we have back-to-back. There are hyphens. It is an adjective or an adverb from the 15th century. 1, facing in opposite directions and often touching. Number 2, coming one after the other. And a synonym is consecutive, back-to-back. Now we have backtrack. It is all one word. It is a verb. It says intransitive, and yep, that's all it is. Not transitive, just intransitive. From 1904. I don't know if I said that. 1A, to retrace one's course. 1B, to go back to an earlier point in a sequence. Number 2, to reverse a position. And maybe this is similar to the phrase I learned recently, shilly-shally. I don't know where that is exactly, but that was a phrase that I think was sort of similar to backtracking, if I remember correctly. Anyway, next is back up. This is a noun from 1951. 1A, one that serves as a substitute or support, as in a backup plan. Gotta scratch my eye. Now we have 1B, musical accompaniment. 1C, additional personnel who provide assistance. Number 2, an accumulation caused by a stoppage in the flow, as in traffic backup. That is the worst. Hey, by the way, something that you all can do to help make traffic just a little bit better for everybody. You may already know this, but the trick really is try not to hit the brakes, because as soon as you hit the brakes, understandably, it sends the next person brakes, and the next person brakes, and so people brake and brake and brake, and that's how a lot of traffic jams are started. Obviously, you have to hit the brakes sometimes. People don't pay attention. People are human. Sorry for talking a lot about this, but try and coast if you can. Well, actually, let's backtrack. Oh, funny, that's a word that I just said. Let's backtrack a little bit more. Don't drive too close to the cars in front of you, because if you do, there's more of a chance that you're going to have to hit the brakes. So give a little space, and then when the other person hits the brakes or is slowing down, you can just coast, and then if you have to hit the brakes, you do. But 90% of the time when I do that, I coast, and I don't ever have to hit the brakes. And so that's just going to help all the people behind me. We're all in this together, just like life. Deal with it. Okay, think about your fellow people and animals. All right, so number 3 for backup, a copy of computer data as a file or the contents of a hard drive. Oh yeah, you gotta back up your stuff. You gotta. Also, the act or an instance of making a backup. Now we have back up again, but it is two separate words. The last one was one word. This is a verb, and we are going to start with the intransitive definition. Oh, and it's from 1837 for those of you who are keeping track and putting all of these words in order that way. To accumulate in a congested state, as in traffic backed up for miles. Now we have the transitive verb definitions. Number one, to move into a position behind a teammate in order to assist on a play. And I don't know if you can tell, but I try and say the parts in parentheses a little bit differently. That reminds me, I don't remember if I said this before, but I'll say it again. There's a great Stephen Wright joke where he says, "Sometimes you can't hear me. That's because sometimes I'm in parentheses." Okay, number two for backup. We just have the number one definition for hold back. Number three, to make a copy of a computer file or data. To protect against accidental loss. Also, to make copies of all the files on, that's the end of the definition. And then in parentheses it says, a hard drive. Very similar to the last one. All right, now we have backward, or backwards. It is an adverb from the 14th century. This is the first form of how many? I won't tell you. You'll find out. 1A, toward the back. 1B, with the back, this is a weird definition. With the back foremost. So the back is the foremost. Okay, 2A, in a reverse or contrary direction or way. Well, now we have 2B. I lost my place because I looked at my recorder to make sure it's recording, and it is. 2B, toward the past. 2C, toward a worse state. We have a couple phrases, bend over backward or lean over backward, and that means to make extreme efforts, as at concession. What, like a concession stand at a football stadium? I don't think so. All right, now we have the second form of backward. It is an adjective from the 14th century. 1A, directed or turned backward. 1B, done or executed backward. 2, we have the synonyms diffident, that's a word, D-I-F-F-I-D-E-N-T. I think that's how it's pronounced. And we also have the synonym shy, S-H-Y. Number 3, retarded in development. And again, as I mentioned before, this is a word just means slow. We're not talking about a person. It's totally fine to use it in this context. At least I think it is. Backwardly is an adverb, and backwardness is a noun. And then we have the third form of backward. It is a noun from 1610, the part behind or past. I love backwards talking. That's all I'm going to say. I've talked about it before. Now we have backwash, all one word. It is a noun from 1869. 1, a backward flow or movement, as of water or air, produced especially by a propelling force. Also, the fluid that is moving backward. And number 2, we have the synonyms consequence and aftermath. Now we have backwater. It is a noun from 1629. 1A, water backed up in its course by an obstruction, an opposing current, or the tide. 1B, a body of water, as an inlet or tributary, that is out of the main current of a larger body. 2A, an isolated or backward place or condition. 2B, an unpopular or unimportant field, as of study or business. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I think we're going to go to that word. All right, so next we have backwoods. It is all one word. This is the first form. It's a noun from 1709. 1, wooded or partly cleared areas far from cities. Number 2, a remote or culturally backward area. And backwoodsy is an adjective. Now we have the second form of backwoods. It is an adjective from 1784 of relating to or suggesting backwoods, especially culturally backward or unsophisticated. And, this is probably one of those terms that's not the most nice to say or to use. So, keep in mind if you're going to use this word, think about it. And then there was an example, a backwoods sentimentality. Next, we have backwoodsman, all one word. I'd like to update this to say backwoods person. It is a noun from 1774, a person who lives in or is a native of the backwoods. And our last word for this episode is backwrap, B-A-C-K-W-R-A-P. It is a noun from 1951, a wraparound garment as a skirt that fastens in the back. So those were the words for this episode. I would like to pick backward as the word of the episode because, as I've mentioned, I like it. I don't think I've said this before. When I was a kid, I still actually own this, but I don't wear it anymore. I had a watch that had Goofy on it, the Disney character Goofy. And, of course, being Goofy, instead of the watch running normally, it ran backwards. The numbers actually were backwards, so instead of the 3 being on the right side, the 3 was on the left side. So all the numbers were backwards, his hands went backwards, and it got to the point where it was actually easier for me to tell time on that backwards watch than looking at a regular watch or clock, whatever. So I still have the watch. I think the battery is long since dead, and I have a watch, but it's an Apple Watch, and because Goofy isn't going to tell me when I get a text. Although maybe I should wear it again. I'm going to think about that. That's my story about Goofy and my backwards watch. Thank you for listening. Today is January 30th. Happy birthday to you, and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Thank you for watching. No, we're not watching anything. What are you watching? What do you do when you listen to this podcast? Let me know. Send me an email. Send me a message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon if you're a Patreon member, and if you're not, you'll get these episodes early if you join the $2 tier. And if you join the $5 tier, you'll get some exclusive episodes. I am actually actively working on exclusive episodes, at least 2 of them. They're just not ready yet. The whole foot thing, I haven't been able to record. Anyway, if you don't know what the foot thing is, I hurt my foot. Go back and listen 2 episodes ago. So, what do you do when you listen to this podcast? Does it help you go to sleep? Are you watching shows? Are you cleaning? Are you driving? Or do you just download it to help me get more downloads and then delete it? Okay, the first word for this episode is backyard. B-A-C-K-Y-A-R-D. It is the first form. It is a noun from 1659. 1. An area at the rear of a house. Number 2. A nearby area. Synonym is neighborhood. As in, crimes committed in our own backyard. Now we have the second form of backyard. It is an adjective from 1740, located or occurring in a backyard. As in, a backyard barbecue. Also, lacking professional training. Located or occurring in a backyard, also lacking professional training. And we have the synonym amateur. Oh, like I'm a backyard barbecuist. Oh, as in a backyard breeder. I have opinions about that. I'm not going to talk about that. Now we have a word that I don't know. It is baclofen. Yeah, B-A-C-L-O-F-E-N. It is a noun from 1978, and it says the origin is unknown, so this is a mystery word. But it means a gamma aminobutyric acid analog, C10H12ClNO2, used as a relaxant of skeletal muscle, especially in treating spasticity, as in multiple sclerosis. I think we also call that MS. Spasticity is a fun word to say. I don't have that, but I can be kind of spastic. I remember when I used to play hacky sack, I would be a little spastic in the way I played, but that's different. All right, now we have, a lot of you are going to love this one, bacon, BACON. This is a noun. Why did I spell bacon? This is a noun from the 14th century. 1, a side of a pig cured and smoked. Number 2, we have the synonym money, specifically money gained through employment or legislation, usually used in the phrase bring home the bacon. This is the first time I've actually come across some etymology in the last couple episodes, so let's read it. It is Middle English from Anglo-French of Germanic origin, akin to the Old High German baho, B-A-H-H-O, a double H, that's not something we usually see, which means side of bacon. And then there's the word ba, B-A-H, I think that's still Old High German, which means back. And there is more at the word back, B-A-C-K. Yeah, I know I try and not talk about my personal life much, so I'm going to keep this short. I am vegan, as I've mentioned. My wife and I are both vegan, so we don't enjoy the typical bacon anymore. But we used to love it when we were young. We very much loved meat and bacon. We just do it for ethical reasons. But I do have to say that when I did eat bacon, I actually went to a bacon fest, and that was probably the most full I have ever been. There was a lot of little samples at all these different tables, and so I tried lots and lots of very small dishes that all had bacon in them, and I was extremely full. And I'm sure my cholesterol and went way up that day, and my heart was crying at me, and all the arteries got clogged up. So that's my story to you. Now we have Baconian, B-A-C-O-N-I-A-N, and the B is capitalized. This is an adjective from 1812. 1, of relating to or characteristic of Francis Bacon or his doctrines. Number 2, of or relating to those who believe that Francis Bacon wrote the works usually attributed to Shakespeare. And Baconian is also a noun. Now we have BACT, B-A-C-T. It is an abbreviation for 1, bacterial, 2, bacteriology, and 3, bacterium. Now we have bacteremia, B-A-C-T-E-R-E-M-I-A. It is a noun from circa 1890. The usually transient presence of bacteria in the blood. And bacteremic is an adjective. And we're going to skip the etymology. We are going to move on to a prefix, bacteri or bacterio. And it just means bacteria, as in bacteriolysis or bacteriolysis, one of those. Now we have our favorite word, bacteria, the one that we've been talking about. It is a noun from 1881, and it just has the synonym bacterium, and it is not usually used technically. So usually in a technical term, they'll use bacterium, but bacteria basically means the same thing. And we have some usage information about bacteria. Here we go. Bacteria is regularly a plural in scientific and pedagogical but this is a thing that I would cut out and put in the outtakes episode, which is going to be on Patreon, but I'm not cutting this one out. Pedagogical. That's just how I'm going to say it because I'm not sure. Pedagogical. Yeah. Let's start that over. Bacteria is regularly a plural in scientific and pedagogical use, although I don't think I said that word correctly. In speech and in journalism, it is also used as a singular, and it is sometimes pluralized as bacterias, as in caused by a bacteria or bacterias born by certain tiny ticks. and that is from the Wall Street Journal. Also is in more resistant to chlorine and elevated water temperatures than other bacterias, and that is from Alan Bruckheim, MD, from the Chicago Tribune. And then finally it says, these journalistic uses are found in British as well as American sources. All right, next word is bacterial, with an L at the end. This is an adjective from 1871 of relating to or caused by bacteria, as in bacterial infection. And bacterially is an adverb. Now we have a word that is not a fun word. It is two words, actually. Bacterial vaginosis. This is a noun from 1985. Vaginitis that is marked by a grayish vaginal discharge, usually of foul odor, and that is associated with the presence of excessive amounts of some bacteria, called also non-specific vaginitis. And the scientific name, it says especially Gardnerella vaginalis. So to half of the world out there that potentially will have to deal with this, I hope you don't have to deal with this. That is my gift to you. I hope you never have to deal with this because that doesn't sound good. Okay, I don't know a lot. I have to claim ignorance. I don't know a lot. Is this something that happens often or is it rare? I don't know, but I hope you don't have to deal with it. All right, next we have bactericidal. Bactericidal, or could also be bacteriocidal. This is an adjective from 1877, and it means destroying bacteria. Bactericide is a noun, and also bacteriocide. So you see there's that prefix that we talked about a little while ago. It could be bacteri or bacterio. Now we have bacterin. Bacterin. It is a noun from circa 1912. A suspension of killed or attenuated bacteria for use as a vaccine. Now we have a long word, bacteriochlorophyll. Bacteriochlorophll. This is a noun from 1938. A pyrrole derivative in photosynthetic bacteria related to the chlorophyll of higher plants. A pyrrole is Pyrrole. Now we have bacteriocin. Yeah, bacteriocin. This is a noun from 1954. An antibiotic, as colicin, produced by bacteria. Next is bacteriology. This is a noun from 1884. 1. A science that deals with bacteria and their relations to medicine, industry, and agriculture. Number 2. Bacterial life and phenomena. Bacteriologic or bacteriological, those are adjectives, and bacteriologically is an adverb, and bacteriologist is a noun. Next we have, bacteriolysis. There we go. This is a noun from 1900. Destruction or dissolution of bacterial cells. And bacteriolytic is an adjective. And we have gotten to our last episode for this. What did I say? We have gotten to the last word of this episode. It is bacteriophage. Bacteriophage. Could also be bacteriophage, depending on how you want to say it. This is a noun from 1920, a virus that infects bacteria. And bacteriophagy or bacteriophagy is a noun. Well, so the easy thing to pick for the word of the episode would be bacteria, but I think that's cheating. I don't want to pick that one. We're going to pick bacteriochlorophyll as the word of the episode because that it's just a fun word to say and spell. And this is the last day of January, right? Yeah. So, I hope that you are getting your tax information by today. Your business, if you work for a company, you should be getting, or if you have bank, any tax information, you should be getting that by the end of today. Why am I talking about this on a podcast about the dictionary? I don't know. It just popped in my head because it's January 31st. So, I hope you get all that today and you go deal with your taxes, and I hope that you don't have to pay anything. Or if you do, I hope it's very small amount. Anyway, that is the end of the episode. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is me talking to you about some words. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Hello. How did you find this podcast? Did you listen to everything else, all hundreds of thousands of podcasts that are out there? Probably not. But somehow you found this one, and I am grateful that you did. And now you get to listen to me talk about some words that are talking about bacteria for part of this episode. Our first word is a weird word, bacteriorhodopsin. Bacteriorhodopsin. There's a kind of a double O sound in there. It is spelled Bacteriorhodopsin. This is a noun from 1971, a purple pigmented protein that is found in the outer membrane of a bacterium and that converts light energy into chemical energy in the synthesis of ATP. And there's a scientific name, or a couple of them, for the bacterium, Halobacterium silinarium, and then there's another one, Halobacterium halobium. That's a fun word. Next, we have bacteriostasis. It is a noun from 1920. Inhibition of the growth of bacteria without destruction. Next, we have bacteriostat. It is a noun from 1920, an agent that causes bacteriostasis. I said that right. And bacteriostatic is an adjective. Now we have bacterium. So this one is actually the one that is kind of the base word for all these other ones. We had bacteria in the last episode, but that's more of the plural of bacterium. So let's talk about bacterium. It is a noun from circa 1849. Any of a domain, bacteria, of prokaryotic round, spiral, or rod-shaped single-celled microorganisms that may lack cell walls or are gram-positive or gram-negative if they have cell walls, that are often aggregated into colonies or motile by means of motile by means of flagella that typically live in soil, water, organic matter, or the bodies of plants and animals that are usually autotrophic, saprophytic, or parasitic in nutrition, and that are noted for their biochemical effects and pathogenicity. Broadly, the word prokaryote. And then you compare to the words archaea, Archaea, or eukaryote, which is spelled Eukaryote. So I think that definition was all one sentence, so apologies if it was confusing. But yeah, bacterium, there's a lot of bacterium in the world. I think some are good and some are bad, maybe, I think. Anyway, wash your hands after you do lots of things, please, and thank you. All right, next we have bacteriuria. Bacteriuria. Yeah, this is a noun from 1900. The presence of bacteria in the urine. Next we have bacterize. It is a verb, a transitive verb from 1914. To subject to bacterial action. Bacterization is a noun. Next we have bacteroid. It is a noun from 1878. An irregularly shaped form of a nitrogen-filled bacterium as a rhizobium, found especially in root nodules of legumes. Next, we have Bactrian camel. Two words. Bactrian has a capital B. It is a noun from 1609, and we just have the 1B definition for the word camel, which we will probably be getting to. Let's see. Let me see if I can predict this. I'm going to predict February or March of next year. Sure. Okay, now we have the word bad, B-A-D, bad, you know this word. It is the first form. It is an adjective, and it's funny, it gives other forms. Usually the forms are like with an ed or an ing at the end or something, but this one, the other forms are worse and worst. So this is an adjective from the 14th century, and it's funny that it just says bad, worse, or worst, but also Weird Al. So Michael Jackson had his album Bad, and then Weird Al did his parody of Bad, which was Fat, but his album that song was on was actually called Even Worse. So there was Bad, and then there was Even Worse. Okay, 1A. Failing to reach an acceptable standard. Synonym is poor, as in a bad repair job. 1B, we have the synonym unfavorable, as in make a bad impression. 1C, not fresh. Synonym is spoiled, as in bad fish. 1D, not sound. Synonym is dilapidated, as in the house was in bad condition. 2A, morally objectionable. Synonym is evil, as in bad men. There's a lot of those out there. 2B, synonyms are mischievous and disobedient, as in a bad dog. Number 3, inadequate or unsuited to a purpose, as in a bad plan. Also as in bad lighting. Number 4, synonyms are disagreeable and unpleasant, as in bad news. 5A, synonyms are injurious and harmful, as in a bad influence. 5B, synonyms, I sense a pattern here, synonyms are serious and severe, as in bad trouble, also a bad cough. Number 6, synonyms are incorrect and faulty, as in bad grammar. 7A, suffering pain or distress. Synonym is felt generally bad. 7B, synonyms are unhealthy and diseased, as in bad teeth. Oh, you got to take care of your teeth, people. Please tell me you're taking care of your teeth. You got to brush, you got to floss, you got to go to the dentist twice a year. Trust me. Not that I've had major problems, but you really got to take care of your teeth. I mean, how hard is it, honestly? Okay, number 8, synonyms are sorrowful and sorry, as in feels bad about forgetting to call. Ooh, that reminds me. I have to call somebody. Okay, 9A, synonyms are invalid and void, as in a bad check. 9B, not able to be collected, as in a bad debt. Number 10, so we have a couple different forms of the word bad for this number 10 definition. They are badder and baddest. So words that are technically not really words, but because it says they are slang. So 10A, synonyms are good and great. Badder. Are they technically words? I'm not seeing them here in the dictionary. Okay. And then 10B, we have the synonyms tough and mean. And badness is a noun. That's at the end of all of those 10 definitions, plus their A's and their B's. All right. Now we have the second form of bad. It is a noun from the 15th century. 1, something that is bad. Yeah, of course. Number 2, an evil or unhappy state. Number 3, we have the number 4 definition for the word fault. As in, the mistake was my bad. Ooh, I say that a lot. My bad. My fault. I screwed up. Yeah. Number 3, no, not number 3. Third form of the word bad, which is going to be our last word for this episode. So I probably could have said that when I said bad before, but I waited until now. This is an adverb from 1681. Synonym is badly, as in not doing so bad. Also as in doesn't want it bad enough. All right, what is going to be the word of the episode? Part of me wants to pick bacteriorhodopsin again because it's a fun, long, complicated word, but we did that in the last episode. So I'm going to pick Bactrian camel as the word of the episode because I want to go look to see what a Bactrian camel looks like. Probably just looks like a camel. All right, that is the end. Oh, happy February. Today's February 1st. Go do something in a February manner. Thank you and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. What's going on with you? I hope you're doing awesome. I'm doing just fine. I've got my foot up here elevated because I had that injury. And this is going to be the last episode that I'm recording today. So tomorrow, if I might have more information on my foot, but probably not. I'm probably still going to be on crutches. So the first word for this episode is a fun one. It is the word badass, B-A-D-A-S-S. I feel like, I don't know, it seems like this word gets used a lot more recently than it used to. But I will say a little, well, you've already seen it in the title of this episode, but the last word for this episode is a good one. And its definition is maybe even better. Okay, that's just a little teaser. First, we have badass. It is the first form. It is an adjective from 1955. Number 1, it is often vulgar, ready to cause or get into trouble. Synonym is mean, as in pretending to be a badass gunslinger. And that is a quote from L.L. King, and I will need to see where that quote is from. Number 2, also often vulgar, of formidable or formidable strength or skill, as in such a badass guitar player. And that is a quote from Nguy Kroll. Nguy is spelled capital N apostrophe capital G-A-I, and Kroll is C-R-O-A-L. Again, I'll have to see if I can figure out where that quote is from. Okay. Now we have the second form of badass. It is a noun from 1956, just 1 year later. Often vulgar, it is a person who is badass. And there are a lot of badass people in this world doing awesome things. And recently there's been a lot of very strong women in movies. The first one that's coming to mind is... oddly enough, the Mad Max movie, Fury Road. There were some badass women in that movie, but that is only one example of many, 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 and I often say she is badass. Oh, also just in Avengers, I mean, there's just a bunch of badass women, and you get to see them all fight together at the very end. Spoiler? I don't think so. All right, now we have bad blood. It is 2 words. It is a noun from 1825. Ill feeling. Synonym is bitterness. Next, we have bad boy, 2 words, noun from 1945, a person who flouts convention, as in a literary bad boy. Now we have bad cholesterol, 2 words, it is a noun from 1980, and we have the synonym LDL. It's a little complicated. There's good cholesterol and bad cholesterol, they say, and anyway, you know what you're gonna find bad cholesterol in, probably? Bacon, stuff like that. All right, next we have baddie, B-A-D-D-I-E or B-A-D-D-Y. It is a noun from 1937, one that is bad, especially an opponent of the hero, as in fiction or motion pictures. Now we have bade, B-A-D-E. It is the past or past participle of the word bid, B-I-D. Now we have badge. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1. A device or token, especially of membership in a society or group. 2. A characteristic mark. 3. An emblem awarded for a particular accomplishment. Badge is also a transitive verb. Now we have badger. It is the first form. It is a noun from 1523. 1a. Any of various burrowing mammals of the weasel family that are widely distributed in the northern hemisphere. And there was a scientific name that I skipped, two of them actually, Taxidia taxis and Meles meles. All right, that was interesting to me. Taxidia taxis and Meles meles. Those are two of the burrowing mammals. Anyway, 1B, the pelt or fur of a badger. I don't like that. Number 2 is capitalized, a native or resident of Wisconsin, used as a nickname, and that is because the University of Wisconsin, their mascot is the badger. Let's see. The etymology, it says it is probably from the word badge, from the white mark on its forehead. So somebody thought that it looked like a badge on their head, and they called it a badger. Now we have the second form of badger. It is a verb, a transitive verb from 1794, to harass or annoy persistently. And a synonym says, see the word bait, B-A-I-T. Before I forget, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. I think today is Groundhog Day, so happy Groundhog's Day, but I think it should be Badger Day because I'm talking about badgers. The Groundhog's Day is kind of stupid, right? It sees its shadow. It doesn't see its shadow. It means nothing. But you should go see the movie. If you haven't seen Groundhog's Day, the movie, go watch that. All right, next we have badinage. B-A-D-I-N-A-G-E. This is a noun from circa 1658. Playful repartee. And a synonym is banter. Next we have badland, all one word. It is a noun from 1851. A region marked by intricate erosional sculpturing, scanty vegetation, and fantastically formed hills, usually used in plural. Sorry, I had a lot of air coming up through my mouth, and so that was a little bit hard to read. I probably should retake it, but I'm not going to. I think what I might do, because I've talked a little bit about this, I'm not doing any editing. I might get through the rest of the B's if I feel like it without any editing. And then in the C's, I might go back to editing and maybe we can have some good outtakes during that time. Or I'll do something different. The Badlands in America are supposed to be beautiful and absolutely amazing. I think most of it's in Utah, maybe, and Wyoming and Montana, probably. I would love to go visit there. All right, next we have badly. This is an adverb from the 14th century. 1, in a bad manner, as in played badly. Number 2, to a great or intense degree, as in want something badly. Next we have the game badminton. Now, I kind of thought it was badminton. That's kind of how I said it, I feel like, but it's badminton. B-A-D-M-I-N-O M-I-N-T-O-N. But actually, I'm looking at the pronunciation guide, and both are correct. Badminton and badminton are both fine. So this is a noun from 1874. A court game played with light, long-handled rackets and a shuttlecock volleyed over a net. And another term for shuttlecock is a birdie, B-I-R-D-I-E, probably. So, if I think of this, maybe I'll put a thing on Twitter and see how do you pronounce badminton? Badminton or badminton? So this is a game as from the residence of the Duke of Beaufort, England. Was the name of his residence badminton? That it's not being super specific, but I think that's maybe that's where the game was invented, on his residence, and they're like, what shall we call this game that we just invented with this shuttlecock and long-handled rackets? Well, we are on the grounds of badminton in Beaufort, England, so maybe we should call it badminton. Cheerio, love that. Let's have some tea. All right, that was not meant to be mean or in any way. It just meant to be silly. Okay, next we have bad mouth. There is a hyphen. If you don't take care of your teeth, you're going to have a bad mouth. This is a transitive verb from 1941, and it means to criticize severely. Next, we have bad news. 2 words. It's a noun from 1917. Well, I have to go see that movie, 1917. Maybe by the time you hear this, I will have seen it. One that is troublesome, unwelcome, or dangerous. as in, stay away from him, he's bad news. That's what they say about me. Next, we have BAE, all caps. It is an abbreviation for 5 things. Number 1, Bachelor of Aeronautical Engineering. Number 2, Bachelor of Agricultural Engineering. Number 3, Bachelor of Architectural Engineering. Number 4, Bachelor of Art Education. And number 5, Bachelor of Arts in Education. Lots of education and engineering. Now we have BAED. The BAE is capitalized. The D is not capitalized, which is interesting. Okay. It's an abbreviation for Bachelor of Arts in Education. Oh, I see why. Because the ED is short for education. So sometimes you'll see BAE and sometimes you'll see BAED. I had to say it twice. Okay, next we have Baedeker. Capital Baedeker. Could also just be Baedeker. This is a noun from 1924, and we have the synonym guidebook. This is from Karl Baedeker, or Baedeker, who died in 1859. He was a German publisher of guidebooks. So they also call guidebooks Baedekers. Now we have BAEE, capital B, capital A, lowercase e, capital E. I think this is going to be similar to the BAED situation. This is an abbreviation of Bachelor of Aeronautical Engineering. So yes, the AE in the middle there is for aeronautical. Hey, guess what? We have another similar one. It is BAEE again, but they're all caps this time. So this is an abbreviation for Bachelor of Arts in Elementary Education. And I don't think, no, that wasn't one of ours from before. Anyway, was it? No. Okay, next we have baffle, BAFFLE. It is a transitive verb. And looking ahead, are there intransitive? I don't want to give you wrong information. Nope, just looks like it's transitive. Baffled and baffling are other forms. This one is from 1675. Number 1, to defeat or check as a person by confusing or puzzling. And a synonym is disconcert. Number 2, to check or break the force or flow of, by, or as if by, a baffle. That was a complicated definition. Synonym, see the word frustrate. Bafflement is a noun, baffler is a noun, and bafflingly is an adverb. This says it is probably an alternative of Middle English, and then in parentheses it says SC, which I think is Scottish, so it's the Scottish form of Middle English. The word bauchlen, that's not how it's pronounced, BAWCHILLEN, which means to denounce or discredit publicly. Now we have the second form of baffle. It is a noun from 1881, a device as a plate, wall, or screen to deflect, check, or regulate flow or passage, as of a fluid, light, or sound. Baffled is also an adjective, or is an adjective. And here we go with the last word of the episode. You've already seen it in the title. It is bafflegab, BAFFLEGAB. It is a noun from 1952, and the definition just has the synonym gobbledygook, GOBBLEDYGOOK. Just a great, great word, gobbledygook. So what is our, well, I'm going to have to pick bafflegab as the word of the episode, I think. Badass was awesome. Badgers are great. Badminton. I used to not be so bad at badminton when I think high school. I was actually not too bad. I would smack that birdie and then get a point. That's how it works, right? All right, but bafflegab is the word of the episode. Can I say it backwards? Bafflegab. Baglafab. Bafflefab. Baglafab. Bafflegab. I think that's it. All right, enough of this silliness. Let us finish recording, and thank you for listening. Go to the episode description and follow the social medias and send me messages and emails and join the Patreon if you want to get early episodes and sometimes exclusive episodes. So this has been me reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to this podcast called The Dictionary, the only podcast where the dictionary is read by some silly person called me. I'm getting bad at that intro. You probably can't tell, but I have a new microphone. I don't know if you follow my Instagram, but I posted about it there. This definitely does sound a little bit different in my cheap headphones. So this is, what is this? The Shure SM58. It's kind of what I've heard the standard, microphone for performances and concerts and things like that. So I think I'm going to have some less problems with this one than the last one. Excuse me. Okay, should I cut that out? No, I won't. So the first word for this episode is bag, B-A-G. Some people like to say bag. And you know what? That is an official pronunciation for this word, bag or bag. This is the first form. It is a noun from the 13th century. 1. A usually flexible container that may be closed for holding, storing, or carrying something as 1A. A purse. That's the synonym purse, especially the synonym handbag. 1B, a bag for game. For game, like you go to a game, or you put a game in a bag, or you hunting for game. I don't know what that is. We're going to move on to 1C. Suitcase. That's the synonym, suitcase. There was a page flip there. Number 2, something resembling a bag as 2A1, a pouched or pendulous bodily part or organ, especially the synonym udder, U-D-D-E-R, like an udder on a cow. 2A2, a puffy or sagging protuberance of flabby skin. Wow, this is some fun descriptions here. And you know what I'm just remembering? I had one of those little foam things on my old microphone, which I'm going to take off of that microphone, and I'm going to put it on this microphone. So you know what? I'm going to make a little cut here, and you will hear me again with better quality sound. 1 second. And I'm back. How does that sound? Maybe I should raise the volume a little bit because this might have actually lowered it a little bit. Okay. So, this sounds much better. Thank you. Good morning, good night, good evening. All right, so yeah, the last one we read was a puffy or sagging protuberance of flabby skin. Fun. 2B, a puffed out sag or bulge in cloth. 2C, a square white stuffed canvas bag used to mark a base in baseball. 3, the amount contained in a bag. 4A, a quantity of game taken. Also, where did it go? Also, the maximum legal quantity of game. Yeah, I think that has to do with when you're hunting. They call the animals game. 4B, an assortment or collection, especially of non-material things, as in a bag of tricks. And I'm going to raise the volume even more. Let's see, number 5, an unattractive woman. Ooh. I mean, I've heard hag, but they call them bag too? I guess so. Not a nice phrase to use, so don't use it. Number 6, something one likes or does regularly or well. Also, one's characteristic way of doing things. There's also a phrase, in the bag. Is that related? Nope, this is a new thing, in the bag. Number 1, synonyms are sure and certain, as in, her nomination was in the bag. At the time of recording, what is today, January 31st? This is airing on February 3rd. The Oscars are coming up on, I think, February 9th. Is that right? No. It can't be. Is that right? Yes, I think it is right. Anyway, do any of those Oscar nominations have it in the bag? Maybe. I don't know. Also, assured of a successful conclusion. Sewn up. As in, have the game in the bag. And then number 2 is slang for the phrase in the bag, and we just have the 1A definition for drunk. I don't think I've ever heard that phrase. Okay, now we have, there's some etymology. Let's go back a page to the bottom of page 91. This is from Middle English bag, B-A-G-G-E, which is from the Old Norse baggi, B-A-G-G-I, and that's all it says for that. Now we have the second form of bag. It is a verb, so other forms are bagged and bagging. Let's see. We're going to start with the intransitive definitions, and I don't think that there's any transitive definitions. This is from the 15th century. 1, to swell out. Synonym is bulge. Number 2, to hang loosely. Oh, there's a transitive right there. So there are only 2 for intransitive, which I assume are the more common uses. And then we have a bunch of definitions for transitive verb. Number 1, to cause to swell. 2, to put into a bag. 3a, to take animals as game. 3b, to get possession of, especially by strategy or stealth. 3c, synonyms are capture and seize. 3d, to shoot down, synonym is destroy. 4, to achieve in or as if in competition, synonym is win. Like I win the game, as in bag a playoff berth. And in that sense, berth is spelled B-E-R-T-H. Number 5, to give up, forego, or abandon, especially for something more desirable or attainable. As in, decided to bag her job and move to the country. Well, that sounds pleasant, doesn't it? Often used with the word it. And then we have another synonym for all of them. It is the word catch. Bagger is also a noun. Now we have B-A-G. The B and the A are capitalized. This is an abbreviation for Bachelor of Agriculture. Now we have bagasse. B-A-G-A-S-S-E. This is a noun from circa 1826. Plant residue, as of sugarcane or grapes, left after a product, as juice, has been extracted. So they call that bagasse. That's a fun word. It is French, in case you were curious. Now we have bagatelle, B-A-G-A-T-E-L-L-E. This is a noun from 1633. 1, we have the one definition for the word trifle. Number 2, any of various games involving the rolling of balls into scoring areas. Number 3, a short literary or musical piece in light style. This is French from the Italian bagatella. It doesn't tell me what that officially means. Now we have a wonderful word. It is the word bagel, B-A-G-E-L. This is a noun from 1916. A firm donut-shaped roll traditionally made by boiling and then baking. I've always kind of been curious how they make bagels and donuts, and, there's lots of different ways. I've never made them myself. So they boil them first, and then they bake them. You probably knew that. Let's look at some etymology, if I could actually say that word. It is actually a Yiddish word. I had no idea about that. B-E-Y-G-L, bagel. It is from I think this is Middle High German, M-H-G. Bugel, B-O-U-G-E-L. It's not actually Yiddish. The Yiddish word got it from other places, but for all intents and purposes, the word we know of at bagel is Yiddish. Anyway, so Bugel is Middle High German, which means ring, and that is from Buk, B-O-U-C, which I assume is also Middle High German, which means ring, and that is from Old High German, and it is akin to the Old English word biag, B-E-A-G, which means ring, or bugan, which means to bend. So they bend it into a ring. Bent it into a ring. And then there's more at the word bow, B-O-W, or bow, probably bow. I love bagels. Bagels are great. I just had some bagels not too long ago when celebrating some birthdays with my family. All right, next we have bag full. It is a noun from the 15th century. 1, as much or as many as a bag will hold. I've got a bag full of stuff in my bag. I really try to be good about bringing reusable bags to stores. We have a whole bunch of them sitting in our car, and sometimes I'll go to a store, like when I'm picking up cat food or something, and I'll forget to bring the bag in. I'm good about going to like grocery stores, but for some reason when I go to all those other stores, I forget to bring the bag. And I have a lot of bags, so there's no excuses. So I'm trying to do what I can to help the environment. And you should too. Number 2, a large number or amount, as in had a bag full of tricks. Okay, now we have baggage. It is the first form. It is a noun from the 15th century. 1. Suitcases, trunks, and personal belongings of travelers. Synonym is luggage. Number 2. Transportable equipment, especially of a military force. Number 3. Intangible things as feelings, circumstances, or beliefs that get in the way, as in emotional baggage. I think we all have some level of emotional baggage, whether you want to admit it or not. So hopefully it's not, it doesn't bring you down or cause problems, but, it might, and that's okay. You just need to work through it. And this is from Middle English, bagage, which is from Middle French, bagu, which means belongings or baggage. Now we have the second form of baggage. It is a noun from 1594. 1. A contemptible woman. Especially, we have the synonym prostitute. I didn't know that prostitutes were sometimes called baggage. That's not a nice phrase. And same with this next one. Number 2, a young woman. Have you ever called a young woman baggage? I mean, that you might be in a relationship with somebody who is maybe feeling like baggage in some way, but to say that a contemptible woman or a young woman, we need to get rid of these old forms. This is ridiculous. So this is probably a modified version of the Middle French bagasse, which is from the Old Occitan bagassa. All right, next we have baggage claim, a place that I have been to many, many times, personally, but mostly with work. This is a noun from 1972, the area in an airport where arriving passengers pick up their checked baggage. Next we have baggies, baggies. It is a noun from 1963, baggy pants or shorts. That reminds me of, what was it? I think it was some guy who tried out for American Idol. He was probably in his 50s, so they wouldn't have let him through anyway. But he sang a song about, "You're looking like a fool with your pants on the ground." And, of course, he was talking about baggy pants or shorts. All right, now we have baggies again, but this one has a capital B. It is a trademark, and it is used for transparent plastic bags. Next, we have bagging, bagging. It is a noun from 1732, material as cloth for bags. And let's see, I think we're going to do one more for this episode. It is baggy, baggy. This is an adjective from 1831. Other forms are baggier and baggiest. I think you can figure out where to use those. Number 1, loose, puffed out, or hanging like a bag, as in baggy trousers. Number 2, loosely constructed and inflated with inessential elements, as in a baggy novel. Interesting. I've never heard that, probably because I don't read a whole lot. And let's see, baggily, that's not how you say the word, baggily is an adverb, and bagginess is a noun. I love the bagginess of those baggy pants that are hanging on the ground baggily. So that was the last word, and I am going to pick bagel as the word of the episode. I actually have some dairy-free jalapeno cream cheese at home, but I don't have any bagels. I've just been putting it on bread, so maybe I should go get a bagel and put my cream cheese on the bagel. Anyway, okay, so now is the time I'm going to give you a brief update of my foot. So if you don't want to hear about that, turn me off. Let's see. Yesterday morning, it's January 30th, I went back to urgent care to get my foot checked out. I was a little concerned that there might be an infection, also a little concerned that there might have been a misdiagnosed fracture, but I got checked out. There is officially no fracture. I got new x-rays, and I actually got the x-rays on a CD, so it's very cool to see your bones and stuff. They didn't officially say that there was an infection, but they said there could be, so I'm on antibiotics. I also have a localized gel that I put on my foot to help the swelling go down, so hopefully between the antibiotics and the getting the swelling down, it'll heal faster. But I've still got the crutches, which I'm using occasionally. I am allowed to put pressure on my foot, but I'm just putting it on the heel. I'm sure this is all information that you don't care about, but I'm telling you anyway. And what else? I'm just trying to keep it, stay off of it as much as possible, keep it elevated. But, I do hobble around every once in a while. And I look like a fool. All right, well, that is the end of this episode. Thank you very much for listening. And until next time, this is Spencer reading this book called The Dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Thank you for joining me on this journey called The Dictionary. I hope you're having as much fun as I am, and I'm having a blast. All right, our first word for this episode is baghouse, all one word, Baghouse. It is a noun from 1914, a device or facility in which particulates are removed from a stream of exhaust gases, as from a blast furnace, as the stream passes through a large cloth bag. Also, the bag used to filter the gas stream. Next, we have bag lady. Two separate words. It is a noun from 1972. A homeless woman who roams the street of a city carrying her possessions in shopping bags. I have seen these people all the time. Lots and lots of people I've seen like this. I don't know how to talk. All right, we're going to move on to bagman. It is all one word. It is a noun from 1765. One is chiefly British, and we have the synonym traveling salesman. Number two, a person who on behalf of another collects or distributes illicitly gained money. Broadly, an intermediary in an illicit or unethical transaction. Now we have the word bagno. Bagnio. This is Italian, I'm going to tell you right up front. It is a noun from 1599. Number one is obsolete, and it has the synonym prison. And number two, we have the synonym bordello. So this is Italian, bagno, Bagno, and it literally means public baths. And it is from the Turks' use of Roman baths at Constantinople as prisons. Interesting. Of course, that reminds me of the They Might Be Giants song, Istanbul was Constantinople. And maybe I'll play a clip.
Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople, now it's Turkish delight on a moonlit night.
And so this is from, bagno is from the Latin balneum, which is from the Greek balanion. I don't know how to pronounce Greek. Next we have bag of waters, three separate words from circa 1881. The double-walled, fluid-filled sac that encloses and protects the fetus in the womb and that breaks, releasing its fluid during the birth process. I didn't know that was called bag of waters. You hear the phrase, you hear women say, my water broke, which is just literally a bag of water. That's what it's called, bag of waters. Interesting. Okay, now we have bagpipe. I know that a lot of people hate the sound of bagpipes, but I actually really like it. Maybe partly because it is just weird and strange and annoying. But yeah, bagpipes are great. This is a noun from the 14th century. A wind instrument consisting of a reed melody pipe and from 1 to 5 drones with air supplied continuously either by a bag with valve-stopped mouth tube or by bellows, often used in plural. Bagpipes. And bagpiper is a noun. I feel like I have something stuck in my mouth somewhere. Some food. Yeah, I think I got it. So bagpipes are weird because you blow air into the bag and you then squeeze the bag with your arm, and as you're squeezing, the sound comes out, the horns on the top, they're called drones, I guess, and then you also have what looks sort of like a recorder at the bottom, and that's where you're playing the melody. Sound comes out of that too. But it's weird because usually as you're playing an instrument, you're blowing air out, and the sound comes out at the same time. But with this one, you actually blow air into something else, and as you squeeze it, it's kind of like it's kind of like a lung. You're putting the air from your lungs into another lung, which they had a name for it. Bellows, I guess. Anyway, I'm babbling. They're a very interesting, odd instrument, and I would really, really love to try one someday. I actually know somebody who has at least one bagpipes, and he can play pretty well, so maybe I'll try and play his someday. Okay, next we have baguette. This is a noun from 1926. 1. A gem having the shape of a narrow rectangle. Also, the shape itself. Oh yeah, I guess I have heard like the gem in a ring called a baguette. Number 2, a long, thin loaf of French bread. I think it's funny how these two very different things have the same name. So this is French. Literally, it means rod, R-O-D. It is from the Middle French, from the Italian bacchetta, ultimately from Latin baculum, which means staff. I still don't know how the gem got the name baguette. Now we have bagwig, B-A-G-W-I-G. It is one word. It is a noun from 1717. An 18th century wig with the back hair enclosed in a small silk bag. I've probably seen examples of this in movies and paintings and things, but I was not really aware of what it was or why it was or what it was called. So it's called a back wig. Now we have bagworm. No, what I say? Bag wig, not back wig. That's something probably different. Bag wig. Now we have bagworm, all one word. It is a noun from 1862. Any of a family of moths and wingless females and plant-feeding larvae that live in a silk case covered with plant debris, especially one often destructive to deciduous and evergreen trees of the eastern U.S. The family name mentioned at the beginning is Psychidae, Psychidae, and then after the especially, it said one often destructive. That scientific name is Thyridopteryx, ephemeriformis. I'm not going to spell those. Next we have Bah, B-A-H. It is an interjection from 1600, used to express disdain or contempt. Now we have Baha'i, capital B-A-H-A apostrophe I. I actually know this word. There's a few different ways to pronounce it. Baha'i or Baha'i, or yeah. Let's see. This is a noun from 1889, an adherent of a religious movement originating in Iran in the 19th century and emphasizing the spiritual unity of humankind. Baha'i is also an adjective. Baha'ism is a noun. Baha'ist is a noun or an adjective. This is from the Persian Baha'i, spelled essentially the same way, and it literally means follower of Baha'u'llah, which is from the Arabic splendor of God. That's what it means, Baha'u'llah. So I actually live near the Baha'i headquarters of the world, which is sort of mind-boggling. From what I understand, there's only maybe 8 or 9 Baha'i temples in the world, official temples, and they're all very beautiful. I have to say, though, the one that I live near, which is in Wilmette, Illinois, is the most gorgeous. It has been there for sometime in the mid-1800s, I think, was when they broke ground. It's a beautiful place. Sometimes we actually walk over there and just walk the grounds. You can go in and hang out. They have a visitor center in the basement where you can go learn about it. It's really a fascinating place. It's a fascinating, I guess it would be called a religion. It's a spiritual movement about the unity of humankind. I mean, what's wrong with that? I have to say there's a few things that I don't 100% agree with them on, but in general, I think that they're really great. And oddly enough, I've actually seen 2 other Baha'i temples in the world. I was lucky enough to see the one in India and also the one in Australia. And I'm not actively trying to do this, but it's on my bucket list to go visit all the Baha'i temples. I am not Baha'i myself, but there's so few in the world, and I've already seen 3. I feel like I should just see them all, right? Anyway, we're going to move on to Bahasa Indonesia. Bahasa with a capital B, Indonesia. This is a noun from 1582, and we have the to be definition for Indonesian. This is from Indonesian, Bahasa Indonesia, and it literally means Indonesian language. Interesting. Next, we have Bahia grass, capital Bahia. It is 2 words. It is a noun from circa 1927, a perennial tropical American grass used in the southern U.S. as lawn grass or as a lawn grass. And the scientific name is Paspalum notatum. And this is from Bahia, which is a state in Brazil. Bahia. Next, we have baht, B-A-H-T. It is a noun from 1828. It just tells me to see the money table because I guess this is the money that they use. It says in Thailand, because it says it's a Thai word, baad, B-A-A-D, and there's an accent over the first A. So it must be their money. Next, we have bail, B-A-I-L. This will be the last word. We're going to do the first 2 forms in this episode, and the other forms are going to move on to the next episode. So the first form of bail is a noun from the 14th century, a container used to remove water from a boat. This is Middle English, bail, B-A-I-L-L-E, from Anglo-French, which means bucket, from Middle Latin, bajula, or bajula, which means water vessel, and it is from the feminine of the Latin bajulus. So bajula is the feminine of bajulus, which means porter or carrier. Next, we have the second form of bail. This will absolutely be the last word for this episode. It is a transitive verb from 1613, and it looks like we have an intransitive definition at the end. So number 1, to clear water from a boat by dipping and throwing over the side, usually used with out, the word out. So we got to bail out the water from the boat. Number 2, to clear water from by dipping and throwing, usually used with the word out. Now, isn't this basically the same from water from? So the first one says to clear water from a boat, and then the second one says to clear water from. Doesn't say from a boat. So either way, you're doing the same thing. It's the same definition. Okay. And then finally, we have the intransitive definition, which is the second definition for the phrase bail out, which will be in, I think, the next episode. And bailer is a noun, the one who is doing the bailing. So I think, let's do a quick scan. I'm going to pick bagpipe as the word of the episode because bagpipes are great, and just like accordions and other things like that. All right, until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Thank you for joining me. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the Dictionary Podcast, the podcast that's the one in the world that's read by some silly person called Spencer. That is me. Thank you for joining me. What do I gotta say? It's my foot's still healing. I'm using my crutches less and less, which is great. I still use them if I have to walk around a little bit too much. But yeah, it's healing. That is for sure. Which is good because I have to fly tomorrow and at the time of recording. So it's good. It's good that it's healing. Okay, you don't care about that. You care about the word bail, B-A-I-L. You heard the first 2 forms of it in the previous episode. And now you lovely people get to hear the third form of it. B-A-I-L. Did I spell that? Do I need to spell that? I don't think so. But there is a word bail, B-A-L-E, which we will be getting to in a little bit. That is spelled differently, but that's not the one we are talking about. This one is a noun from the 15th century. 1, the temporary release of a prisoner in exchange for security given for the due appearance of the prisoner. Number 2, security given for the release of a prisoner on bail. Number 3, one who provides bail. This is from Middle English. It means custody or bail. From Anglo-French, literally means handing over or delivery. And let's see, that is from balier, which means to give or entrust or hand over. And that is from Latin badulare, which means to carry a burden. Also from, so that badulare would be the verb. And then there is the word badulus. I'm not 100% sure on how the j sound is pronounced in Latin. I can't remember. But badulus, it means porter or carrier. Now we have the fourth form of the word bail. This is a verb from 1548. Looks like it's only a transitive verb. Number 1, to release under bail. Number 2, to procure the release of by giving bail, often used with the word out, like a bail out. Number 3, to help from a predicament. Again, used with the word out, as in bailing out impoverished countries. And bailable is an adjective. And no, I don't think we have bail out. No, we do actually have bail out. We'll get to that later this episode. Hey, guess what? We have a fifth form of the word bail. It is a noun from the 15th century. 1a, a supporting half hoop, like a basketball hoop, but probably not for basketball. Number 1b, a hinged bar for holding paper against the platen of a typewriter. What is the platen? Holding paper against the so is maybe the platen of a typewriter is the round part, I guess, that the paper leans up against, that sort of rotates there. So that's the hinged bar. So yeah, so there's the platen, and then there's the paper, and then there's the bar that goes across that holds the paper against the platen. That's called a bail. A lot of you young people probably have never used a typewriter before, but I have. By the way, did you know that the way the keys are laid out on the keyboard is actually designed to be the slowest possible way that someone can type on them? The reason is they had it laid out in a much quicker way, to type faster, and the keys, the ones that would actually go against the paper to put the ink on, those keys kept on getting stuck together because people were typing too fast. And so they designed the keyboard, the QWERTY keyboard as we know it, to be as slow as possible. And then it just became the way that we typed. So if they redesigned the keyboard, if we all got used to it, we could type a lot faster. There actually is a keyboard called Dvorak. I think that's how it's pronounced. I think it's Dvorak. And that is designed to be the fastest way possible. I think all the vowels are on one side, like all in a row. And then, so the idea is that you're alternating back and forth, left, right, left, right, left, right, as much as possible. Because the way it is now, sometimes there are words that you have to type a lot with your left hand or a lot with your right hand, and it's not quite as fast that way. But if you're able to go back and forth between your hands, you can type a lot faster. I actually did study how to use that keyboard years ago, and on my computer I could switch between, are the keys going to be, is it a Dvorak or a QWERTY keyboard? Of course, the keyboard in front of me didn't have that, so I sort of had to memorize where the letters were, but I've completely forgotten how to do that. So I think that we should redesign our keyboard, and we should start teaching the young kids Dvorak and make the old people learn it. And, it'll be like 100 years of transition that would suck, but then we'll all type faster. Okay, enough of the keyboards and typewriters and things. Let's now go on to the next definition of the fifth form of bail. It is number 2, a usually arched handle, as of a kettle or pail. Now we have, and we have some etymology for this one too. Middle English, bail, spelled B-E-I-L or B-A-I-L-E, probably from Old English bagel or beigel, and that is akin to the, what is this, M-D? It's probably some language that starts with D. Bugle, which means iron ring, or hilt guard. So hilt guard, maybe that's where the typewriter thing comes in. And it is akin to the Old English bugan, which means to bend, and there's more at the word bow or bow. And I real quick want to go back to this page right at the beginning, right before the A's. There's this, there's the pronunciation, symbols, and then There's also, here we go, D, Dutch. So it's not Deutsch, which would be German, it's Dutch. So Middle Dutch was that one that was MD. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Now we have the sixth form of bail. It is a transitive verb from 1768, to deliver personal property in trust to another for a special purpose and for a limited period. And this is from Anglo-French balayer. I think that's how it's pronounced. And now we have the seventh and final form of bail. Who knew that there were 7 forms of bail? It is a noun from 1844. It is chiefly British, a device for confining or separating animals. Interesting. How does that work exactly? So we had 7 forms of bail. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them were nouns, and the other 3 were verbs, in case you're curious. Next, we have bailee, B-A-I-L-E-E. It is a noun from 1528, the person to whom personal property is bailed. So if I bail you out, I would be the bailee, the person to whom personal property is bailed. Yep. Next, we have bailee, B-A-I-L-E-Y. This is a noun from the 13th century. 1. The outer wall of a castle or any of several walls surrounding the keep. Number 2. A courtyard within the external wall or between 2 outer walls of a castle. And any of you people who know much about that world probably already knew that. I'm sure I've heard that phrase, that bailee in terms of castles and things, but I never really knew what it was. I know there's a last name, the Irish last name Bailey, so I wonder if that's where they got that from, or if that came from somewhere else. Maybe it was the person who sort of keeps watch on the outer wall. They were called a Bailey. I don't know. But I have a personal connection to this word. Actually, my cat is named Bailey. I actually named her after the very tasty and sweet alcohol Baileys, which luckily now they have a vegan version of that, which I like to enjoy every now and again. So yeah, my little girl, my little cat, who's very small, but she's she's almost 12. She's like 11 and a half years old. She's Bailey. Let's see. This is Middle English, Bailey. Spelled different, which means palisade, or Bailey, from Anglo-French bail, B-A-I-L-L-E, or Bailey with 1 L, ends in an E. And now we go to Bailey, B-A-I-L-I-E, and this is a noun from the 14th century. We had 3 words that basically all sound the same in a row. So this is, number 1 is chiefly a dialect, and we have the synonym bailiff. Number 2, a Scottish municipal magistrate corresponding to an English alderman. So actually, maybe this is where that last name Bailey comes from. I said before it was Irish. I think I only said that because usually when I meet somebody with the last name Bailey, they say they're Irish, and so I sort of connect it more towards that. But obviously, English and Scottish, they could be from there too. In fact, my wife's one of her grandmothers, I think, grandmothers or great grandmothers' maiden name was Bailey. So yeah, this could be where this municipal magistrate or alderman, if you had that job at, many years ago, maybe your last name was Bailey, and that's where that came from. Okay, next we have bailiff. It is a noun from the 14th century. 1A, an official employed by a British sheriff to serve writs and make arrests and executions. Oh, they had to actually make executions too? I didn't know that. 1B, a minor officer of some U.S. courts, usually serving as a messenger or usher. Number 2 is chiefly British, one who manages an estate or farm. And bailiffship is a noun. And it's also a boat filled with bailiffs who are just executing people. So this is Middle English from bailiff or bailey, from Anglo-French bailiff, from bail, which means power or authority or office, from balayer, which means to govern or administer. It does look like it's the same balayer that I was mispronouncing before. I think it's spelled the same way. Yeah, but they mean different things, so not sure about that. Also from Middle Latin, badulare, which means to care for or support. From Latin, which we just said, to carry a burden. And there's more at the word bail, which we spoke about earlier. Next, we have bailiwick. This is a noun from the 15th century. 1. The office or jurisdiction of a bailiff. Number 2. A special domain. And let's see, this is Middle English, bailiffwick, Baillifwik, from bailiff plus wick. And wick means dwelling place or village. And also from Old English, vic. Why did I say the V sound? I don't know if there was a V sound. WIC, from Latin vicus. So that's where the V comes in, which vicus means village, and there's more at the word vicinity. Yeah, I know, I can't remember exactly the history of it or something, but I know in like Austria, Germany, they pronounce W's like V's, and I think they even pronounce V's like W's. So honestly, I think they probably do it the more proper way. But here in English, we have flipped it around for some reason. A W its name is W, so it should be more like a wuss. Well, see, there you go. Why did they say W's like V's and V's? I don't know. It's complicated, but I think there's some reason for that somewhere. Somebody flipped it around. Okay, bailment is next. It is a noun from 1554. The act of bailing a person or personal property. Next, we have bailor. Bailor. Could also be ER, actually. This is a noun from 1602. A person who delivers personal property to another in trust. Next, we have bail out, that one I mentioned earlier. So this version of it is all one word. It is a noun from 1951, a rescue from financial distress. Next is bailout, which is two words. This is an intransitive verb from 1930. 1. To parachute from an aircraft. Number 2. To abandon a harmful or difficult situation. Also the synonyms leave and depart. Of course, I'm sure a lot of you remember the bank bailout here in America by the government. That was like 11, 12 years ago. Yeah, that was fun. I definitely went upside down on my mortgage for a long, long time, but I think I'm back to about even, which is good. All right, next we have bailsman. It is a noun from 1862, one who gives bail for another. Next is bain-marie, BAIN-MARIE. It is a noun from, where did it go? 1822. There's a lot of etymology before the year. A cooking utensil containing heated water in which food in smaller pots is cooked. Compare to double broiler. I've heard double broiler. I think I maybe kind of know what that possibly looks like, but I don't cook, so I don't know. And so I guess a bain-marie is similar to that. Where did it come from, you ask? Man, I screwed that up. Where did it come from, you ask? It is French, from Middle French. Let's see, what is this saying? Now I should have this abbreviation page up all the time. And when I say page, I mean it's literally a page. It's not like another tab on the computer because I'm doing this all with a physical book. Is trans in here? Yes, translation. Let's put this little thing here so I can come back to that. So what is this saying? This is French from Middle French. It's a translation of the Middle Latin balneum Mariae, which literally means Mary's bath, like you take a bath in the tub. And that is after Maria Habria, which was Mary the Jewess, which was a legendary inventor of apparatus used in alchemy. So that was a very complicated etymology. So let's go backwards in this. Mary the Jewess, if that was what they called her, I guess she must have been Jewish. She was named Mary. She invented apparatus or apparati used in alchemy. So you have an idea of when this was all happening. And they called her Maria Hebrai or Hebrai. It looks sort of like the word Hebrew. And so she made something, I guess, called Mary's bath, which must be similar to a double broiler. and then that was translated into Latin, or it was originally written in Latin as Balneum Mariae, just Maria, and then it eventually went to French Bain Marie, which is the standard term for it. All right, next we have the very last word for this episode. It is bairn, B-A-I-R-N. It is a noun from before the 12th century. It's a short one. It's chiefly Scottish, and we just have the synonym child. My wife and I just watched Dairy Girls. I think it's on Netflix. Yeah, I think it's on Netflix. And they are in Northern Ireland, but they had some name for kids. I don't think it was bairn. And I can't remember, was it like wit or something? I think it was something with a W. But that just reminded me of it, that it was just another name for child. But in Scottish, they say bairn a lot. And let's see, we are not going to get into the etymology because it's not super helpful. You can go look that up if you want. I have to pick a word of the episode, so I think I'm going to go ahead and pick Bailey as the word of the episode because my little cat is named Bailey, and I love her, and she's great and super cute, but she can also be kind of nasty, which is pretty typical for a cat. So that is it. There's stuff going on in my life, but you don't want to hear about that. So until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of the Dictionary Podcast, the only podcast in the world read by some stupid person who is me. If you have any strong opinions about anything about this podcast, or you just want to tell me and tell the other people what you think of it, go ahead and write me a review on whatever platform you listen to this. Hopefully it's, usually it's probably Apple Podcasts. I know that that's a big place where people listen and where reviews are very helpful. So I would love a 5-star review, but if you want to give some negative comments in the notes as well, that's perfectly fine. I love constructive criticism. I actually have taken some of it to heart, although based on probably the last episode, you wouldn't think so. But the 5-star really helps me get more exposure, and I just want more people to be aware of this book called The Dictionary via this podcast called The Dictionary. But yeah, let me know, do you hate this no editing thing? I personally like it because I think it sort of forces me to just keep on talking and have fun and be silly and not really care about the outcome. I think I need that. I also just enjoy less post-production work by no editing. But if you have strong opinions, let me know. If you want some editing, maybe I'll do that, and then the outcome of that might be some fun outtakes. And if you want to become a Patreon member, you can get early episodes by paying $2 or more, and you can get exclusive episodes by paying $5 or more. And I know I've said this many times. I am actively working on at least a couple of those, but life has been really, really crazy the last few weeks, so I haven't been able to work on them. But they're coming, I swear. All right, the first word for this episode is bait, B-A-I-T. It is the first form. It is a verb from the 13th century. We are going to start with the transitive definitions. 1A, to persecute or exasperate with unjust, malicious, or persistent attacks. 1B, we have the synonym tease. 2A, to harass as a chained animal with dogs, usually for sport. And I just want to go on record in saying that is a terrible thing to do. 2B, to attack by biting and tearing. I think tearing is spelled the same way as tearing, so it can be a little confusing, but in this case, it's definitely tearing. 3A, to furnish with bait. 3B, we have the synonyms entice and lure. 4, to give food and drink to an animal, especially on the road. So without the parentheses, it says to give food and drink to, especially on the road. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard that term in that sense. So like if you're on a road trip and you have to feed your dog or your cat while you're on the road, you bait them? I don't know. Okay, the intransitive definition is archaic, and it means to stop for food and rest when traveling. And baiter is a noun. We have some synonym information for this guy. Let's talk about it. Bait, badger, heckle, hector, Chivy, hound, mean to harass by efforts to break down. Bait implies wanton cruelty or delight in persecuting a helpless victim, as in baited the chained dog. Again, bad. Badger, which, just a side note real quick, we read that a couple episodes ago, I think, and at the time of recording, that's actually today's episode, I believe, and I have to post a picture of a badger on Instagram, which will be up by the time you are listening to this, but my little note is that one of the thoughts about where the name came from was they thought that the white on its head looked like a badge, and as I was looking up pictures of badgers, it does not look like a badge at all. If anything, the coloring on its head is more like striped than like a badge. So I think somebody either misnamed it or that is not where the name came from. But back to the synonym information for bait. Badger implies pestering so as to drive a person to confusion or frenzy, as in badgered her father for a car. Heckle implies persistent, annoying, or belligerent interruptions of a speaker, as in drunks heckled the stand-up comic. Hector carries an implication of bullying and domineering, as in football players hectored by their coach. I don't think I'm familiar with Hector. Chivy, I assume I'm pronouncing that correctly, but maybe not, suggests persecution by teasing or nagging, as in chivied the new student mercilessly. I guess it could be chivied, but I don't think that's right. Hound implies unrelenting pursuit and harassing, as in hounded by creditors. Good times reading all that synonym stuff. Next, we have the second form of bait. It is a noun from the 14th century. 1a, something, as food, used in luring, especially to a hook or trap. 1b, a poisonous material placed where it will be eaten by harmful or objectionable animals. So I guess if you're trying to get rid of an animal that's around, you'll poison it, which will be called bait, and that's bait. And number 2, we have the synonyms lure and temptation. This is Middle English from Old Norse, bait, B-E-I-T, which means pasturage. Also from beta, B-E-I-T-A, which means food. It is akin to the Old English baitan, which means to bite. Next, we have bait and switch, all 3 separate words. It is a noun from 1967. 1. A sales tactic in which a customer is attracted by the advertisement of a low-priced item, but is then encouraged to buy a higher-priced one. Ooh, sneaky. Number 2, the ploy of offering a person something desirable to gain favor as political support, then thwarting expectations with something less desirable. People who do these things are not good people. Okay, did I say that was a noun from 1967? I think I did. Next, we have bait fish, all one word. It is a noun from 1820. A small fish, as a golden shiner or menhaden, something like that. So a small fish that attracts and is a food source for a larger game fish. Also, a fish used for bait. So the small fish is literally used as bait for a larger fish. Well, they probably don't appreciate that. I don't think I would. How are they used exactly? Are they like grabbed in I don't know, whatever. It's fascinating what nature has done to get animals to figure out interesting ways to get their food. There's a snake that has some special thing on its tail that they know how to move it around to make it look like a spider. And like at first glance, it really looks like a spider. And birds are confused by this and they go in and then the snake attacks. It's things like that are just absolutely fascinating. There's other weird sea creatures that can do similar things. They wave. They have some appendage that looks like something else, and they wave it around, and then some tries to get it. And then they snag them and eat them, and nature is absolutely insane. And I don't think that they're conscious of, hey, my tail looks like a spider, so I'm gonna wave it around like a spider. they probably just know instinctually that what they have to do. They made it's just really, really fascinating how nature works like that. Okay, we are going to move on to Baiza, Baiza. It is a noun from 1970. And then it says just to see real, Rial, in the money table. So this is Arabic Baisa, probably from the Gujarati word Pais and then a backward C. I don't know how to pronounce that. And that is from the Hindi paisa, so maybe it's pronounced similar to paisa, and it means quarter on a coin. And there's more at the word paisa. So there's a coin, and then there's a quarter and a coin called a paisa, and then it became baisa, and that's money. Okay, next we have baize, Baize. It is a noun from 1578. A coarse woolen or cotton fabric napped to imitate felt. So they've done something to it, to this woolen or cotton fabric, to make it seem like it's felt. So this is from Middle French. I don't know how to pronounce that. Baies, which means baize, from the feminine of bay, Bai, which means bay-colored. What color is bay? I have no idea. And there's more at the word bay. Exciting. Next we have bake, Bake. It is the first form, and it is a verb from before the 12th century. This is an old one. We're going to start with the transitive definitions. 1. To cook as food by dry heat, especially in an oven. Number 2. To dry or harden by subjecting to heat. And now we have the intransitive definitions. Number 1, to prepare food by baking it. 2, to become baked. Number 3, to be or become extremely hot, as in sidewalks baking in the sun. Once we went to, in the Chicago area, there's Six Flags Great America, and it was the hottest day of the summer, probably one of the hottest we've had since then. This was a long time ago, though. And somebody had a very large car, like a Ford Explorer or something, and it was so hot, the asphalt in the parking lot was actually buckling under the tires of the car. It was sort of coming up around the sides a little bit. It was insanely hot. And then baker here is a noun. This is Middle English from Old English bakan, which is akin to the Old High German bahan, Bahhan, which means to bake. From Greek phogene, Phogein, which means to roast. And that is that for the first form of bake. Now we have the second form of bake. It is a noun from 1565. 1, the act or process of baking. Number 2, a social gathering at which a baked food is served. Ooh, what's that baked food? Is it a cake? Is it donuts? Is it cupcakes? Is it something else not sweet? Okay, next we have Bakelite, capital Bakelite. It is a trademark used for any of various synthetic resins and plastics. Next we have Baker's Dozen. It is a noun from 1596, and we just have the synonym 13. So if you didn't know that a baker's dozen was 13, I don't know where you've been. Maybe you haven't been in America, because maybe it's only an American thing. I'm also really curious at where this term came from. It doesn't give me any sort of etymology. I might have to go to that website. But I've been curious about that. You know, was a baker just being nice one day and said, hey, I'm going to throw in an extra one for you, and they just called it a baker's dozen? I don't know. All right, next we have baker's yeast. 2 words. It is a noun from 1847. A yeast used or suitable for use as a leavening agent. And the scientific name, the example they give for this yeast is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Yep. Next we have bakery. It is a noun from 1758, a place for baking or selling baked goods. I love bakeries because I love sweets. Next we have bake sale. 2 words. It is a noun from 1903, a fundraising event at which usually homemade foods, as cakes and cookies, are sold. How did I not think of cookies when I was giving examples of things that are baked before? I've actually really been wanting to bake some cookies recently. I have not baked in many, many years, but I like the idea of following the recipe. I'm good at that. I can't really cook, but I can follow a recipe. And I've made cookies many times in the past, so I'm comfortable with that. But I would like to make some cookies. I should probably do that. But we also don't need them in the house, so maybe I'll just give them to the people I work with. All right, last for this episode, the very last word is bake shop. It is one word, Bakeshop. It is a noun from 1789, and we just have the synonym bakery. So now is the time that I have to pick a word of the episode, and I like to say that because it stalls, and I get to go look up what words were there. I think I'm going to pick bakery as the word of the episode because they provide me with things that are tasty, and that is it. Thank you very much. Oh, and I think today is my cousin Claire's birthday, so happy birthday, Claire. And until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye! Hello, word nerds. How are you doing today? Should we do a little ASMR? No, I think I said that before, and I was like, no, that's a bad idea. Well, anyway, hi, how are you doing? It's the podcast. It's time. I don't know. I'm just trying to make this more entertaining for me and hopefully for you. So, should we talk about some words? Okay. Oh, this is stupid, but I'm recording this on February 2nd, 2020, and if you write the numbers out, I think in any way, either the European way or the American way, it comes out to be a palindrome. And I like palindromes, so there you go. So the first word for this episode is bakeware, Bakeware. It is a noun from 1946. Dishes used for baking and serving food. Next is baking powder, 2 words. It is a noun from 1850. I always get confused with what the difference is between this one and the next one, which you can probably guess, but we'll get there. So baking powder is a powder used as a leavening agent in making baked goods as quick breads that typically consists of sodium bicarbonate, an acidic substance as cream of tartar, and starch or flour. So typically consists of sodium bicarbonate, acidic substance, and starch or flour. Cream of tartar. I don't know. I know there's tartar sauce. I've heard of cream of tartar. I don't know. I think most people just say tartar, but it's fun to say tartar. Okay, next is sodium bicarbonate. No, it's baking soda. So those are the two things I get confused. But it looks like, based on the last definition, well, let me just tell you this one. It is a noun from 1862, and the synonym is sodium bicarbonate, or bicarbonate. And it looks like baking powder made to make goods that usually have both baking powder and baking soda in them. Okay. Wait, it's one of these, I think, that you can make that weird Newtonian substance. It's like you mix baking soda or baking powder and water or something like that. Maybe there's flour too, I'm not sure. And if you have the right ratios, you can, if you just hold it in your hand, it becomes a liquid. But then if you put any force onto it, like if you squeeze it or punch it or throw it on the floor, it becomes very hard. And I don't remember. Maybe I'll go look up. Hey, Spencer, go look up how to make this. What is it called? A non-Newtonian liquid or something like that. Look up how to make that and put that link to that recipe in the episode description. So if you want to make some of this stuff, which you probably made in science class, it's cool and fun. I don't know if you can eat it though. That might not be good. So don't do that. Okay, next we have baklava. Baklava. Couple different ways to pronounce it. It is a noun from 1653, a dessert made of thin pastry, nuts, and honey. And technically, I'm not supposed to eat honey, which I really don't. I mean, every once in a while, I'll accidentally have a little bit of it. Again, that's just because I'm vegan. But every once in a while, I do see a vegan baklava with no honey in it, and it is so, so tasty and so sweet. It's so good. This is a Turkish word, by the way. Next, we have bakshish. Bakshish. Sheesh. It is a noun from circa 1760. Payment as a tip or bribe to expedite service. Bakshish. So this is Persian from bakshish, spelled differently, from bakshidan, which means to give, and it is akin to the Greek word phagine. Oh, you know what? I just realized I screwed something up. I think it was the last episode. Yep, the word bake. As I was reading the etymology, I said it was from the German phogene, but it was actually the Greek word phogene. I don't know why I didn't put that together at the time. Anyway, so this is bakshish. It is akin to the Greek word phagene, which means to eat. Also from the Sanskrit bhajati, which means he allots, like allots. So that is what bakshish is. Next, we have BAL, B-A-L. It is an abbreviation for balance. Next, we have B-A-L, all caps. It is a noun from 1942, and we just have the synonym. What is this word? Dimercapral, or dimercapral, one of those, D-I-M-E-R-C-A-P-R-O-L. This is from the B in British, the A in anti, and the L in Lewisite. So British anti-Lewisite. I don't know what it is, but it has something to do with dimercapral, and I don't know what that is either. Next, we have Balaam, capital B-A-L-A-A-M. It is a noun from before the 12th century. An Old Testament prophet who is reproached by the ass he is riding and rebuked by God's angel while on the way to meet with an enemy of Israel. There's a lot going on there. So I guess he's riding on an ass, which is like a donkey kind of thing. We read that in the A's, and he was reproached by it. And there's some other stuff too. This is Greek from the Hebrew bilam, B-I-L''A-M. And I know it's probably not an apostrophe, but that's what I know it as. Next we have balaclava. This is a noun from 1941. A knit cap for the head and neck, called also balaclava helmet. This is from Balaclava, Crimea, which is a site of a British encampment during the Crimean War. So they probably wore that on their head and neck. I want to go see a picture. Come join me. Let's go look at a picture together. Next, we have balalaika. Oh, by the way, balaclava is B-A-L-A-C-L-A-V-A, and balalaika is B-A-L-A-L-A-I-K-A. It is a noun from 1780, a usually three-stringed instrument of Russian origin with a triangular body played by plucking or strumming. I think the first time I heard this word balalaika was, no, actually, you know what? That is not what I'm thinking of. That was something else. Ignore me. This is a Russian word, by the way. Next, we have balance. It is the first form of two, and it is the last word of the day. We are going to do both forms in this episode, though. B-A-L-A-N-C-E. It is a noun from the 13th century. 1. An instrument for weighing. Like how much do you weigh? An instrument for weighing as 1A, a beam that is supported freely in the center and has two pans of equal weight suspended from its ends. When my grandparents were moving out of their house into this into basically a nursing home, they had all these old things that we all grew up with, and so they were trying to get rid of things. And one of the things I took was this old balance that they had. I don't even know how old it is. It's got to be maybe 100 years old. I don't know. I'll have to look at it and see if I can figure that out. But they had it. I remember playing around with it when I was a kid. The little weights are on there, and they sort of nestle into each other. And I never used it for any practical purposes, but it was just one of those sentimental things that just reminded me of my childhood. And it's relatively small, which is nice. But that's one of the things that I had to hold on to. Okay, so that was balance. That was 1A. 1B. Let's see. A device that uses the elasticity of a spiral spring for measuring weight or force. Number 2, a means of judging or deciding. Number 3, a counterbalancing weight, force, or influence. 4, an oscillating wheel operating with a hairspring to regulate the movement of a timepiece. 5A, stability produced by even distribution of weight on each side of the vertical axis. 5B, equipoise. Is that how you say that word? Equipoise between contrasting, opposing, or interacting elements. Equipoise is spelled Equipoise. 5C, equality between the totals of the two sides of an account. 6A, an aesthetically pleasing integration of elements. 6B, the juxtaposition in writing of syntactically parallel constructions containing similar or contrasting ideas. I feel like that sentence was way more intelligent than I can understand. It was a very smart sentence. 7A, physical equilibrium or equilibrium. 7B, the ability to retain one's balance. 8A, weight or force of one side in excess of another. 8B, something left over. Synonym is remainder. 8C, an amount in excess, especially on the credit side of an account. 9, mental and emotional steadiness. Balanced is an adjective. We have a phrase in the balance or in balance, and that means with the fate or outcome about to be determined, as in, our future hangs in the balance as we wait his decision. Next, we have a phrase, it is on balance. With all things considered, that's the definition, and we have an example, the meeting went well on balance. The meeting went well, all things considered. Now we have the second form of balance. It is a verb from 1588. First, we have the transitive definitions. 1A1, to compute the difference between by God, my mouth can't speak. To compute the difference between the debits and credits of an account. 1A2, to pay the amount due on. Synonym is settle. 1B1, to arrange so that one set of elements equally equals another, as in, balance a mathematical equation. 1B2, to complete a chemical equation so that the same number of atoms and electric charges of each kind appears on each side. And I remember taking chemistry class, and that was when he described it to us, my teacher, who was a really awesome teacher, I think he was Mr. Carpenter. The Carpenter was a chemistry teacher. It's very similar to the previous definition of completing a mathematical equation. That's basically what a lot of it is doing the math and trying to make things match on either side. Anyway, 2A, we have these synonyms counterbalance and offset. 2B, to equal or equalize in weight, number, or proportion. 3, to weigh in or as if in a balance. 4A, to bring to a state or position of equipoise, or equipoise, there's that word again. 4B, to poise in or as if in balance, or as if in balance. I had an extra in. 4C, to bring into harmony or proportion. Now we have the intransitive definitions. 1, to become balanced or established in balance. 2, to be an equal counterpoise. And it's another one with poise at the end. I don't know any other way to pronounce it. Number 3, we have the number 1 definition for the word waiver. WAVER. Not like you sign a waiver, but like you're waving at your friend and you're a waiver. As in, balances and temporizes on matters that demand action. So those were all the words. A lot of good ones in here, actually. But I'm going to pick balance as the word of the episode because a thing I think about a lot is nature and the universe and everything is always trying to get in balance. that's sort of how the world works. There's positives and negatives and good and bad and et cetera, et cetera. I think a lot about that symbol yin yang. I want to say yin yang, but I think it's officially pronounced yin yang. And that's just a really good metaphor for what the world is. The world, nature, universe, whatever word you want to use. It's always trying to get in balance. And climate change is happening, and the reason we are having all of these bad problems, the simple description from how I understand it, is that the reason we're having all of these natural problems, tornadoes and fires and floods and things like that, is because the world, Mother Nature, is trying to get back in balance, and everything is screwing up. Humans are screwing everything up, and nature has no choice but to react in these ways. And so the more we don't fix things, the more those problems are going to happen. And, I would rather have not that happen. I don't want that to happen, and I don't want the younger people to have to deal with that stuff. So that is the word of the episode, balance. That's all I got to say. Thank you very much for listening. And until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Thank you for joining me on this I keep on saying on this podcast. You're not on this podcast. I'm on this podcast. You're listening to this podcast. But thank you for listening. Go ahead and rate and review and follow me on the social media and join the Patreon and say what's up and hi. I do want to say a while back, I figured out where all of my episodes were going to land on what day through the letter B. But what I didn't get a chance to do was actually go through and make little notes on like what holidays happen on those days. So I want to go back and just mention a few that I've missed because I still haven't written down those holidays. But let's see. On January 20th, in addition to it being my sister's birthday, which I think I mentioned, it's also Martin Luther King Day. I don't know how I missed that or forgot to mention that. But yeah, so that was a big one. Let's see. Civil Rights Day was also January 20th. The Chinese New Year started on January 25th, and I think it's the year of the rat. So happy rat year. Let's see. I mentioned that. At the time of recording, it's February 2nd, which is, is it February 2nd? Yeah, it's February 2nd. It's also Groundhog Day, which I mentioned, but for a lot of you, more importantly, it's the Super Bowl, which I will not be watching, but I missed that, whatever it was, 6 days ago, in your world, in your time. Also, February 4th was Rosa Parks Day, and, I know what she did was, it really changed things, but what I've learned was that there was actually somebody else, a young girl, maybe she was a teenager, who actually did it beforehand. I think Rosa Parks did it. It was pre-planned by her and a group of people, which is great. I'm not trying to take away from what she did at all, because that was an amazing thing and took a lot of guts and bravery. But it had been done before, and so I want to give a shout out. I don't know the woman's name, but there's more to the story, is what I'm trying to say. That's all. Anyway, so yesterday, this is a fun one. National Wear Red Day. I hope you wore some red on February 7th. And today is February 8th, and there's nothing on the list. So happy birthday, happy anniversary, happy 8th day of February. Okay, so I'm going to try and be a little bit better about talking about holidays, because I know that that's the only reason you're here. You just want to hear me talk about stuff like that. Okay, the first word for this episode is balance beam. B-A-L-A-N-C-E. Next word, B-E-A-M. It is a noun from circa 1949. 1. A narrow wooden beam supported in a horizontal position approximately 4 feet above the floor and used for balancing feats in gymnastics. Number 2. An event in gymnastics competition, in which the balance beam is used. Next, we have balance of payments. 3 words from 1844. A summary of the international transactions of a country or region over a period of time including commodity and service transactions, capital transactions, and gold movements. Next, we have balance of power. 3 words again, and there's going to be one more of those. This is from 1701. An equilibrium of power sufficient to discourage or prevent one nation or party from imposing its will on or in interfering with the interests of another. Next, we have balance of trade from 1668. The difference in value over a period of time between a country's imports and exports. Next, we have balancer. It is a noun from the 15th century, one that balances. Specifically, we have the synonym, and I don't know how to pronounce this, haltere or haltere, Haltere. So that is someone who balances. Next, we have balance sheet. It is 2 words. It's a noun from circa 1771, a statement of financial condition at a given date. Next is balance wheel, 2 words, noun from 1669. 1. A wheel that regulates or stabilizes the motion of a mechanism. Number 2. A balancing or stabilizing force. Next is balancing act, 2 words, noun from 1954. An attempt to cope with several often conflicting factors or situations at the same time. Next we have balas. I think that's how it's pronounced. Balas. It is a noun from the 15th century. A ruby spinel of a pale rose red or orange. What is a spinel, and how is it pronounced? Spinel. But it is pale rose red or orange. It is Middle English from Middle French baila or belai, from Middle Latin balagius or balaskius, which is from the Arabic balaksh, which is from Balakshan, which is an ancient region of Afghanistan. So maybe that's where they get these, I don't know, maybe it's a gem or something. Well, it says a ruby spinel, so yeah, it's probably a gem. Next we have balata, Balata. It is a noun from 1860. The dried latex of a tropical American tree of the Spodilla family that is similar to gutta percha, don't know what that is, and is used especially in belting and golf balls. Also, a tree yielding it. All right, so let's go back a little bit. It is a dried latex of a tropical American tree. So the genus name for this American tree is Manilcara, and especially Manilcara bidentata. Bidentata. I don't know what gutta percha is, but it is spelled Gutta hyphen Percha. So maybe we should go look up a picture. Next we have Balboa, Balboa. It is a noun. By the way, balata is Spanish, and it is from, looks like the Caribbean, or a Caribbean word. Okay, so Balboa is next. It is a noun from circa 1909, and it says just to see the money table. It's Spanish from Vasco Núñez de Balboa. So I guess it's a form of money in Spain, maybe? Named after somebody with the last name Balboa. Next we have Balbriggan, Balbriggan. It is a noun from 1885, a knitted cotton fabric used especially for underwear or hosiery. This is from Balbriggan, which is a town in Ireland. So maybe they made a lot of these underwears and hosieries in this town called Balbriggan. Next we have balcony. It is a noun from 1618. 1. A platform that projects from the wall of a building and is enclosed by a parapet or railing. Number 2. An interior projecting gallery in a public building as a theater. Balconied is an adjective. Hello to all you balcony monsters. If you understand that reference, then you do. This is Italian from balcone, Balcone, from Old Italian, which means large window. It is of Germanic origin. It is akin to the Old High German balco, which means beam, and there's more at the word balk, B-A-L-K. And they have a little black and white drawing of an extremely fancy balcony and windows. Actually, the windows are more fancy than the balcony itself. I don't know what style. They have this fancy arch. Oh, we could go back to our arch episode. Remember when we listed all the different kinds of arches? But the tops of the windows have this fancy pointed curved arch, and then there's a relatively small balcony in front of it. But it's all very sort of ornamental. All right, next we have bald, B-A-L-D. We've got the two forms, and these will be the last for this episode. So the first form is an adjective from the 14th century. 1A, lacking a natural or usual covering, as of hair, vegetation, or nap. 1B, having little or no tread, as in bald tires. I think there's a penny test, like if you stick your penny in and it doesn't stay in or it doesn't go far enough down the treads of the tire, you got to go get new tires. So it reminds me I should probably go look at my tires because I don't usually check them. Number 2, marked with white. Number 3, lacking adornment or amplification, as in a bald assertion. 4, we have these synonyms undisguised and palpable, as in bald arrogance. And then at the end it says, see the word bare as a synonym, B-A-R-E. Baldish is an adjective, baldly is an adverb, and baldness is a noun. This is from Middle English, balled, B-A-L-L-E-D. It looks like it would be pronounced bald, like a ball, but in the past tense. And it is probably akin to the Danish dialect, baldet, which means bald, from Latin fulica, which means coot. What? And from Greek, phalios, which means having a white spot. And from Old English, bale, which means fire or pyre. So now we have the second form of bald. It is a transitive verb. Actually, it's just a verb with both transitive and intransitive definitions. From 1602, the transitive definition is first, to make bald. And then the intransitive definition is to become bald. Very simple and clear. Thank you for that. So what is going to be the word of the episode? Let's pick... I don't know what to pick. This is hard. I'm going to pick bald because I'm not bald. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye.